167 straight days of Clippers talk. Welcome in. I'm Adam Osland.
Getting strong now. Getting strong now.
How do I turn off the looping effect? It's still on. I thought I was a good editor with this old archaic version of Adobe. It's like version 1.0 or 0.5. Appreciate you guys because it gets too complex after that for me. So coming up on today's show, we're going to have Tomer Azarly on from Clutch Points, who did an interview with Ben Simmons that I thought was very interesting and kind of brought you into the psyche of what he's been going through over the years with rehab and injuries and the critics and how he feels about this part of his career, his current state, what he can do for this Clippers team. So we'll talk about that with Tomer. Alex Webb is in here. And yeah, if we're talking about Ben Simmons.
Get out there, Ben, and put that shit up, dog. Put it up, Ben. Get out there, Ben, and put that shit up, dog. Put it up, Ben.
Put it up, Ben time.
Put it up, Ben. Put it up, Ben.
It's obviously a story that we have to hit on. We are the Put It Up, Ben show of record.
Put it up, Ben. Put it up, Ben.
He's trying so hard.
Put it up, Ben.
Clay Vaughn is like, it's almost like a blood-curdling scream. You could just, he's going to need some chamomile tea after this.
Put it up, Ben. Put it up, Ben.
We'll talk a lot about Ben Simmons. We'll talk a little bit about tomorrow's game with the Clippers taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. But I want to start with this. So, earlier today, Clippers held practice, and there were some interesting quotes coming out of practice and something I didn't pick up on. We heard from B. Shaw and Norman Powell. We'll start with Brian Shaw. So there's been a lineup or a three-man lineup that has been very good for the Clippers as of late. As more people are getting in here, Bonesaw saying the long-lost Gasol brother. That's who Big Zoo is, I'm telling you. Check the tweets, check the receipts. I had it back in 2021. Eric said another dub tomorrow. Let's go Clippers. Ray said good afternoon. Ray said, I've been refreshing this feed. You're waiting for the live. Did you think I'd stop the streak? Never. The streak must continue here.
We're going streaking! Yes!
I had to listen to Kevin O'Connor for a second there. He's all right. Although he did say something like, who was he talking about with the Clippers once where it was a player who didn't play at all, and he's like, they got a nice player here who's been doing some stuff. Was it Fiondo Cabangeli? Who was it? I forget. It was obviously an omission or letting the cat out of the bag that he didn't watch the Clippers as closely as he thought. Ex-Mongo Project is in here. So, as I get back to this subject, there's a three-man lineup that has been doing work for the Clippers. And it was brought to my attention, thanks to Justin Rousseau at Fly By Night, who asked this question earlier to Brian Shaw at practice.
The three-man group of Bogey, Nico, and Zoo have been really good on the floor together. Kind of how have you seen their fit and kind of how they
Oh, Alex Webb got it. It was Daniel Oturu. Kevin O'Connor was acting like Daniel Oturu was doing something for the Clippers at all. And there's no disrespect, but he wasn't even playing. He was like, they got, nice depth at their big man position. It was like, dude, you just totally exposed yourself as a Clippers casual. I like a lot of stuff Kevin O'Connor does. He just stepped in a landmine there. For those who know the Clippers, that was way off. All right, back to Justin Rousseau with the question to be shot earlier today.
Lineups, the three.
There's a lot of different combinations that we still have to figure out that we're trying to do and that we walk through today.
Speaking of lineups, the three-man group of Bogey, Nico, and Zoo have been really good on the floor together. Kind of how have you seen their fit and kind of how they boosted each other and boosted the team?
You asked him about Bogey, Nico, and Ivica Zubats. The sound is rough here. There's music. It's at practice. Balls bouncing everywhere, but we'll try to cut through it.
Yeah, I mean, the guys have been kind of joking, calling them the Euros.
The Euros. That's what they're calling them.
But, obviously there's a familiarity with them, not just language-wise, but just on the floor and the style of play that you see played in Europe, particularly the passing and the movement. And so it's been a blessing in disguise for us to see how they have gelled, those three guys in particular, working with each other. We're cognizant of that as a coaching staff and try to get those three out there.
So he acknowledged it. Those guys have played well together. It's a development. It's not nothing. And then I looked up the three-man lineup data to confirm what our eyes have seen. And I'm sure Justin Rousseau had seen this, and that's why he brought it up. He's very good with the analytics and digging into exactly who's playing well on the court together. But in 100 minutes, in 12 games, so was that like 8 minutes per game with these three guys on the court, Bogey, Nico, and Zoo, they have an offensive rating of 122.6 and a defensive rating of 100.5, a net plus 22.1 rating. That's not nothing, 100 minutes. I'm not saying these numbers would hold up over another 100 minutes, but they got something. People are saying the Euro line. Corey said they talk about them like a line of hockey forwards, the Euro line. Yeah, I'm not a puckhead. I'll take your word for it. But they are tough. We saw that with Bogey and Big Zoo, especially last time out. Bogey going for that 8-8. Zoo with 28-20 against the Cavaliers. And Nico doing the little things out there. But being able to speak the same language and having their own little code going with Bogey and Zub speaking Croatian or Serbian together, it's pretty cool. I don't know, it's a nice little subplot to this Clippers team and storyline to keep an eye on. And I'm glad the Clippers, and Bishaw said it there, they're trying to get those three on the court together. Like I had ran the two-man numbers from Zoo and Nico, and those were really good. I think they were like a plus 10 or plus 12 per 100 possessions net rating-wise. But then you add in Bogey, and it's 100 minutes with these three guys out there, and an offensive rating of 122.6, a defensive rating of 100.5, a plus 22.1 net rating. Kevin O'Connor would appreciate me talking about the analytics in this way and three-man lineup data. He's big on that. You have to be. I mean, the fact that we can get lineup data now off NBA.com is pretty revolutionary, pretty big game changer. Turns out it matters which combination of five guys are out on the court together, and you can also whittle it down to three-man lineups, two-man lineups, four-man lineups, see who plays well with who and how you've been doing out there. Speaking of the way I said that made me think of this. How you been doing out there?
Not too bad, I hope. Not too bad, I hope.
How they have been doing out there with different lineups, rotations, and the way they've allocated minutes to different lineups. So, someone's saying 17-game winning streak. So they're 4 in. They got 13 games left. It's mathematically possible, soggy cereal. I got you. Guys, this whole thing, like Coach Lou hasn't been playing Ivica Zubac as much, and Bishaw has. Do you want me to go through the game log of Ivica Zubac playing heavy minutes under Coach Lou as well? Come on now. So, last month he had games of 38 minutes, 37 minutes, 37 minutes again, 35, 40 in Toronto. Coach Lou was playing him heavy minutes too. The minutes uptick for Ivica Zubac seems to be intentional because they went from, in January, 30 minutes per game to 33 per game, and now they're about 36 per game in the month of March. So from January to February to March, his minutes, his workload has been going up. But you got to understand something. They're in communication the entire time during games, B. Shaw and Coach Lou. He is carrying out the head coach's philosophies, principles, agenda out there. He is doing a good job. He did talk about Coach Lou. He wasn't at practice, obviously. He's still dealing with back issues. They're hoping he gets better. Jeff Van Gundy has a family, personal matter to attend to. So both of them were still missing. Don't really know if they'll be back tomorrow or not. Old Dirty Dashers said Ben Simmons is great on defense. It's wild how he just looks so comfortable or so uncomfortable anywhere near the cup. We'll hear from Tomer Azarly about his exclusive interview with Ben Simmons for Clutch Points here in a sec. Corey said the Grizz got punked by the Blazers last night. Can't take them lightly tomorrow. No, especially because they haven't been playing that well. And a loss like that in Portland, that's probably, after losing in Sacramento, going to bring the best out of Memphis. Now, they haven't had Ja Morant. He's had a hamstring issue going on. So Luke Kennard started last game. He started a game this season already against the Clippers. Beware of a Lukey Dookie with the tournament going on. Scoring outburst. That's a possibility against his former team in the Clippers. But Jaren Jackson Jr. was 5 of 18 with 14 and 5. That's it. In that 16-point loss they had to the Portland Trail Blazers. Desmond Bane did have 27 of 16 shooting. Santi Aldama, 16 off the bench. Scottie Pippen Jr. at 18. But yeah, Portland has been playing much better the second half of the season. They've been turning things around. They're still 31-39, but 19-16 at home. They did lose. Robert Williams just had another knee surgery. Surgery on his left knee. He's out for the season. Remember all the talk, get Robert Williams, make a trade for him as your backup big. Man, when he's healthy, he's a starting level big, but he just cannot stay healthy. I feel for the guy. It is brutal. Kansas-Arkansas game is fire right now. That's good because we haven't got a lot of good March Madness so far. Mark Jag said, y'all thought I was crazy when I said 10-game winning streak. The Pelicans loss messed up my prediction. That's fair, Mark. You might not have been that far off in the end. Let's hear from Norman Powell now at practice. Speaking of the Memphis Grizzlies, being asked about this week playing these upper echelon teams, what it means for the Clippers, if these are statement type of games. Here was Norm just a couple hours ago.
Coming out, Memphis coming out. Does that add any significance to the game? What's that feel like playing teams in Philadelphia right now?
I mean, we know that they're top teams. Both teams. All three teams that we have this week are ahead of us. Have a better record, two of them in the Western Conference. They're statement games. You want to go out there and play and show that you can compete and beat these teams.
So he said it straight up. They're statement games. We want to show that we can go out there and compete and beat these teams. And you heard a lot of that language coming out of the game against the Cavaliers. They got up for it. Zeus said it. They were up for that game, not just because it was his birthday and they were trying to get him a victory on his birthday, but the level of competition demands it. And being this close to the playoffs, these games are more magnified and more meaningful right now. They are. It's just facts. But I'm glad Norman Powell, they're not shying away from it. These games are circled.
It's just playoff time now. I think we have 12 games left, 13 games left until things get real. So it's all about positioning and playing your best brand of basketball. And down this stretch of games, getting ready for the playoffs, it's always good to have the top teams that have kind of solidified their 1, 2, 3 spots in the postseason to go up and see where we're at, see how we can improve, and go out there and be the best team that we need to be going down this last stretch.
See where we're at, how we can improve. These are measuring stick-like contests. Very important games, especially because the Clippers, B-Shot talked about this at practice, they're healthy. He mentioned how this might be the first time all season long everybody was at practice. I think the only guy that might be out still is Jordan Miller. So they got pretty much everybody. That's huge. All of a sudden, it feels like things are coming together. With 13 games left, there's just enough runway, and if the Clippers can stay healthy, knock on wood, they can really build some momentum. Coming off what we saw in that Cavs game, if that can continue tomorrow night against Memphis, now we're talking. And, you know, how you play always matters. If they play hard and play the right way, and they lose the next two in their close contests, you know, I might still be able to say I've seen some progress here. They just weren't quite good enough. Maybe they'll get there. I guess there'd be, 11 games left after this weekend. But do not kid yourself. These games are important to this team. This is a way to gauge where you're at. I still think, even with Ja out, that these are important games. Like, they've beaten them with Ja without Kawhi on the road in Memphis. I think Memphis is a really good matchup for the Clippers. Unfortunately, Memphis is careening down the NBA standings right now in the Western Conference. They're falling out of what I hope was going to be them ending up in the 2 spot. Now, the next best team that I feel like this is the second best matchup for the Clippers, should they get in a first-round series, there is work to be done. Clippers currently 7th. That would be Houston, the Rockets, and they're in a 2 spot, but they're only a game up on the Lakers. I wonder what their tiebreaker situation is with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to take on their schedule and see what has happened this season. I want to say they have won games against them, against the Lakers this year. So they won the first matchup. They got to see them 3 times. Ooh, so they still play them 2 more times. That could decide the head-to-head tiebreaker, obviously, between them and the Lakers. But they won the first matchup, the Rockets. That was a bit ago, January 5th, 119-115. Jalen Green at 33 for them. Yeah, I'm looking at the top of the West because we know who's in the number 1 spot. That's OKC. That's solidified. Who's going to end up number 2? Because that could be the team that the Clippers see in a first-round matchup. I agree with you, Free TV. Ideally, the Clippers get the 6th seed and get the Rockets in the 3 seed. But it's going to be so close with standings watch going on and teams battling for position in the standings down the stretch here. You're not going to be able to pick your opponent. You know, they're a game up on the Lakers. The Lakers are tied basically with the Denver Nuggets, same amount of games back of the Houston Rockets. Lakers just beat them again last night. The Nuggets didn't play Jokic, didn't play Jamal Murray. So I believe they have the tiebreaker against them now. Or did they tie 2-2 this year? The Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. That's a very big tiebreaker. So the Lakers lost the first game. They won the next 2 then, I think. Right? Because they beat them in Denver a couple of weeks ago. That was their big feather in the cap victory. Meaningful for them. Yes. 123-100. Oh, but then they lost to them. So, yes, they finished 2-2 this season against the Denver Nuggets. So, I think it kicks down to winning your division. If the Lakers win the Pacific Division, then they would have the tiebreaker that way. Then it goes to conference record. You guys want to confirm that? I think that's accurate. And the Lakers are currently, yes, atop the Pacific Division by 3.5 games. So, and let's see what their conference record is anyways, in case it bumps to that. They're 30-13. Yeah, Denver is 27-16. So the Lakers likelier winning the tiebreakers against Denver in the standings. Helps them there to get a higher seed, whether it's the 2 or the 3. I thought this week, and we'll see what happens tonight against Milwaukee, but this is the 6 and 8 games. Tonight finishes it off for them. 6 games in 8 days for the Lakers. I thought that might really do them in. But I want to say, let's see. They're 3 and 2 right now. So at worst, they're going to be 3 and 3 during this stretch. They've weathered it somewhat. But now Denver has injuries. Memphis is now in the 5 spot. I don't think Golden State can catch them. Maybe they could if they just keep winning. I think they've won 13 to 15. And then you have the Lakers behind Golden State by a game for the 6th spot. And Minnesota, by virtue of win percentage, is behind the Clippers currently in the 8th spot. I made a prediction a couple weeks ago, maybe not even that long ago, that the Clippers and Golden State, that final game of the season, was going to decide who had home court in the play-in matchup. But with the Clippers having won 7 of 8, the 6th seed is still in play for them. Maybe it will decide who's the 6th seed and who's in the play-in. That final game of the season up in San Francisco between the Clippers and Golden State Warriors. Very interesting. Some of the stakes going on. But I did want to also bring up this to you guys as we do Kawhi Watch. We started first here, okay? Kawhi Leonard, this was posted by Justin Rousseau. His first 13 games was averaging 24 points per game this season. His last 13 games, he's played 26 now. He's at about 25 points per game. The assists are down by a fraction of a point from 3.7 to 3.6 assists per game. Rebounding is down from 6.7 to 6.5 the last 13 games. But the turnovers are down from 2.8 to 2.4. True shooting is up by 4.1% the last 13 games from Kawhi as opposed to the first 13 games. His 2-point percentage is up by about 1%. The big difference is, though, his 3-point shooting is up from the first 13 games back. Kawhi was shooting 36% from 3. His last 13 games, he's shooting 41% from 3. So 5% increase there. Free throw percentage, exactly the same, 76%. Steals, though, are up. That's significant. And obviously, minutes are up overall. He went from the first 13 games averaging 25 minutes per game, the last 13 averaging 35 minutes per game. That's what we're looking at right now with Kawhi Leonard and the progress he has made to get to this point where I said in that third quarter, guys, this is prime Kawhi, what we were seeing against the Cavaliers. That was the best version of Kawhi Leonard you could hope for right now. And I think it's extremely encouraging because it was a big game and he had that pop and that burst out there. He got up for it as well. You guys are commenting about the standings. Moki said, I want us to meet the Lakers in a series and beat their asses. It will be glorious. Here's the problem. They might have the best 2 players on the court in Luka and LeBron. Now, if Kawhi's playing like he just did on, what day is it? Thursday? Tuesday? That's different. But my concern with the Lakers is, first of all, I've been through a few with them back in the day with Sacramento, and they were hell. You always felt like they got all the calls. And back then it was Shaq and Kobe you were dealing with. Now it would be Luka and LeBron. My concern is a series against the Lakers will render Ivica Zubac less effective defensively because they will continue to pull him out to the perimeter on switches. And therefore he's not guarding the rim. That's my concern. We saw it plenty when they went up against Dallas and Luka. We saw it The last 2 games against the Lakers they played this season with Luka, if they're pulling Ivica Zubac away from the hoop like that, you're losing a huge part of your defensive identity and your defensive anchor out there. Then Ivica Zubac isn't nearly as useful. That's my biggest concern. Free TV said Clippers don't want the 7th seed because that means playing. No way, does it? Best bet is to get the 6th seed or higher and let the chips fall. Preferably they fall into a Rockets or Grizzlies matchup. No way. Something I've been saying for like 2 months. I got you, Free TV. I agree. The Clippers would rather not be the 7th seed. I think that's every team would rather not be in the play-in. Illuminating stuff here. Alex Webb said, we all huge Pelican fans again. Tomorrow, do it again. Yeah, the Pelicans beat Minnesota last night, and they're taking them on again. And was the first game also in Minnesota? It was. Pelicans beat them last night, 119-115. I don't think they're going to beat them twice there. That's an embarrassing loss for Minnesota, but this is what happens when Zion's available. Punk's Gone Wrong said, what's up? Terry says, Adam. X-Mongo said, Lakers lucked into the top of the Pacific with that trade, and I hate it. Yes, we all do. Thanks, Nico. Chemo LAC said it would have done them in if Phoenix played them like they play us, and if Denver played their guys. Shaking my head. Yeah. Denver not playing their guys last night. Lakers fans are like, oh, they're shook. They're scared to play us. Terry said Memphis has a tough schedule. I think they will be playing. Do they? Last time I checked. So their schedule is tough, but the Clippers is still tougher. The Clippers have the 6th toughest strength of schedule left. The Lakers the 3rd. Phoenix the 1st. But they just moved into the 10th spot last night after, I forget who they beat or if Dallas just lost, but they have the tiebreakers over Dallas. They're likely going to be in the play-in because Dallas might be at a point where they have to forfeit games, which is insane. Thanks, Nico. Sacramento is the 8th toughest schedule. So you have this grouping of 6, 7, and 8. The toughest schedules there being the Clippers, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Sacramento Kings. Denver has the 11th toughest schedule. Teams that are relevant in the standings here. Golden State, the 18th toughest. So one of the easier ones. Minnesota, the 26th toughest. They have the easiest schedule of the teams competing there. I should check on Houston, though. They have the 10th. So tough there for them. But that's why I thought Minnesota, what I said a couple of weeks ago when I did the standings watch and said, I think it's under the episode best case scenario for the Clippers in the standings. My prediction was Minnesota would jump the Warriors and get the 6th spot, and the Clippers and Warriors would battle it out for who would have home court in that 7-8 matchup in the play-in. Obviously, that can still happen with Minnesota having the 26th toughest schedule. So, really a top 5 least toughest schedules. And then Golden State having the 18th toughest. So, it's going to be difficult. The Clippers are at 6th. Based on strength of schedule, 6th toughest schedule left. Teams that they're playing have a win percentage of 542. Not going to be easy. 877-520-1150 if you guys want to get on. 877-520-1150. Free TV said, check the Grizzlies schedule. Yeah, well, they still have a slightly easier schedule than the Clippers do. Terry said Kawhi is always an efficient player, but he hadn't been as much as of late. Well, until late, I should say. Oh, look at Free TV. The guy who wants Kawhi traded. The guy said we're better off without him. Now he's all the way back in. He's saying the Lakers winning the West. They might. They're not a good matchup for the Clippers anymore. They're not. You can hate them all you want to, but it's not a great matchup. For mainly the reason I pointed out. They'll pull Ivica Zubac away from the basket. So your best rim protector and one of the best in the league isn't going to be able to operate there much. Terry said we can beat them, but we have better matchup against Denver and Houston than the Lakers. I'd say Houston's significantly better. I'd probably say Denver's even a better matchup because I like the way Big Zoo plays against Jokic. They would have won in the bubble if Doc Rivers just stuck with the Vitesse Zubats instead of playing Montrezl Harrell against Jokic, which is an all-timer. Yes, that Mexican R, they will hunt Bogey and Harden. There aren't that many ways to defend it with the way Luka matchup hunts other than fighting through the screens. But if you fight through it, you're giving him time to get a shot up with nobody guarding him. F said, just watch the Clips and Dip episode. Free TV said, we need to avoid Lakers, need to luck up, and someone else knock them out in the playoffs. OKC and the Warriors have the best chance to beat the Lakers, so we don't have to play them in the playoffs. OKC, the Warriors, Denver. I still think Denver could beat them again, but it would definitely ain't going to be a 4-game sweep or a gentleman's sweep. F said, having the toughest schedule means we can give a lot of the best teams in L. That's true. That's one way to look at it. I didn't think of it that way, F. I like it. If you guys want to get on, 877-520-1150. Want to hear a little bit more from Norman Powell earlier today.
When you were out, the team struggled, then they got better. Like, what did you see from them that excited?
This is a really interesting question from Law Murray. Because, yes, the team struggled at first when he was out. Then they got better. So how does Norman Powell adjust to them playing a little bit differently without him than they were before he went out?
You about the progress they made without you, and how do you feel you best fit how this team is playing now that you're back?
I like that they stayed with it. They figured it out. They were working together. I watched every single game. They didn't have no quit. Got down big in New Orleans and were able to claw back and take the lead. Unfortunately, we didn't come out with the win, but that no quit, that continue to fight until the game's over mentality is what we need. And I like that togetherness, that toughness to go on the road and lose that first one, and then pick up the rest of the games. It's really big. That's what we need. I think everybody's pulling in the right direction. Everybody knows that it's going to take a full group effort for everybody that steps on the floor if we want to do what we think we're capable of. And it's just we're starting to build the foundation and making improvements in the defensive end, the rebounding, the boxing out, the physicality that the game needs. And I think it's showing in the stretch of games.
How do you feel like you complement all that? Compared to not obviously them being out, they had to change how they had to play. Now that you're back, it's not the same team that you left when we had All-Star break. So it's like, how do you see yourself being like, I can help this team here based off of what they didn't have when you was out?
Just continuing to play basketball. Everybody knows what I bring to the table. I've always been a player that you can just plug in and play, and I'll figure out, how it's going to impact the game offensively. But defensively, having my head on the swivel, helping on the team defense side of things, off ball, making sure I have the same focus and mentality and approach that they've had while I've been out. That there's no drop off, and then just re-implementing myself on the opposite end, making the plays that are in front of me, and going forward with that end. But I put the work in. I'm never too worried about that. Just making sure that we're playing a certain brand of basketball going down the stretch of games.
So Norm not very concerned about fitting back in with this Clippers group that has had a lot of turnover since he came back from, first it was the knee injury, now the hamstring injury. I do think it's going to be a pretty easy fit because he's a catch and shoot guy and a quick decision guy out there that's going to attack closeouts, roll to his right, get to his spots. It's just, he doesn't need to cook. He finishes plays, but yeah, he's more of the server than the cook. He finishes plays, but he doesn't have to get into his bag. He doesn't play with his food. It's just quick decision-making out there from Norman Powell and being very decisive with it. So I'm not overly concerned with him getting back up to speed. And Brian Shaw stuck with Bogey because it was working in that fourth quarter against the Cavs. And how can you argue with the results? Norm Powell's a team guy, even though he has been basically an all-star this season. He should have been an all-star. He's been in a role so long like this where he knows he just has to fit in, find a way to make an impact, to make his presence felt out there. He'll do that no matter who he's on the court with. And like you said, he's a plug-and-play type of guy. More from Norm.
Does it show you what the biggest difference with him not being on the court? Does it make any difference?
This is a question about Ty Lue not being with them right now from Brad Turner of the LA Times.
I mean, B-Shaw, they're vocal. You know, B-Shaw's been in the head coach position before. He knows what the game needs. Another player coach that understands. But it's, you know, it's stepping in and taking that role, like we talked about this morning in our meeting. You know, the coaches are also, you know, have that next man up mentality. You know, and trying to figure out how we can put the best combination of players on the floor to help us get a win. You know, and it's going to take sacrifice from everybody. You know, while we have not only T. Lue out, but JPG out as well. You know, on the defensive side of things, to be locked in and pulling the rope in the same direction. And everybody knows that. You know, B-Shaw done a great job, and now it's just continuing. You know, in the huddle, helping him with what he sees. You know, it's a back and forth communication with the players and coaches, but he has that same mentality and goal in mind that T. Lue has, and everybody falls in line.
That's another seamless transition, as it has been. With what? They're 3-1 with B-Shaw coaching right now. Malcolm Maxwell said, just win, Clips. Take every game as a playoff game and continue to get reps with everyone getting healthy. Just win, baby. That Mexican Nara wants to know about chances against the Thunder. I'll preview that on Saturday. I don't want to look past the Memphis Grizzlies yet, my guy. They're still a tough opponent to play. Zachary Blair has got some jokes here, asking how I'm doing.
Not too bad, I hope. Not too bad, I hope. Not too bad, I hope.
Yeah, I do think you just can't look past anybody. But before we talk more about the upcoming schedule and the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow, I do want to bring in a guy who can help us with this subject.
Put it up, Ben! Put it up, Ben! Put it up, Ben!
We got Tomer Azarly from Clutch Points joined the show here, who had an exclusive with Put It Up, Ben Simmons. Tomer, thanks for joining me here on Clippers Talk.
Thank you, Adam. Can you see me right now? This is my test right now.
Oh, your camera is on. I was going to let you know.
Thank you, because I'm getting a black screen here on my end, so good to know. Thanks for having me. No, appreciate you having me on, man. How you doing?
I'm good. It is kind of the stop motion video going on, but it's fine because your audio sounds good. And, you know, if your brother walks in right now, we probably won't even get that good of a look at him because the video's going like copy. So we're good.
You know, he gets
all right.
He every time I bring that up, he hates it. He gets so annoyed about it. I'm like, it's cool, it's funny, whatever. But yeah, let's talk basketball.
Let's talk Ben Simmons. You had the exclusive interview, and I read it earlier today on Clutch Points. I thought there was a lot to unpack there with his mindset now, having been through so much with his injuries. Could you clarify? Because I wasn't sure, was it 2 back surgeries or 3 back surgeries in the end for him?
So it ended up being 2 back surgeries. He had a herniation in his back, and the first surgery didn't exactly address what it needed to address. And so in the middle of, I believe it was 2023, he took time away, and he just they try to do other, you know, obviously back surgery is very sensitive. You don't want to go that route unless you absolutely have to. And so they try to rest approach and more of a rehab approach without having to operate a second time. But, you know, his return to play, during that return to play sequence, it just kept popping up on him, the discomfort and the pain in his back. And ultimately they decided to undergo a second back surgery at the end of the 2024 season-ish. Yeah. And then 23-24 season, yeah. And then he was able to come back. He said, there's a quote there. He said it was night and day after the second surgery. Like the second surgery absolutely addressed what it needed to address. And he was, feeling like himself. But unfortunately, it was a third straight summer for him that was full of rehab and having to work on his body, not really able to work on the court as much as just getting his body right. So it was 2 back surgeries. The second one addressed the herniation and really, got him to where he needed to be. But it really was just a brutal stretch there where, for no lack of trying, he just couldn't get right. His back just wasn't helping him out. And, it was tough. It was tough for him.
We're talking with Tomer Azarly, who had a sit-down interview with Ben Simmons for Clutch Points that I believe dropped yesterday. Did he comment at all about how he's feeling now off the knee swelling he was dealing with, or just, where he thinks he's at in his process? Because I know at the very end of the article, he said something to the fact that he's trying to get back to 100%. So he's still kind of in that journey of just working through all the injuries.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, that interview we had just before they went on that 3-game road trip, and he wasn't traveling on it to start, and he was expected to miss all of it. I think he stayed back, and the team, came up with a plan for him, a return to play plan. I don't think, from what I understood, the inflammation wasn't ever anything concerning. It was just one of those kind of awkward hits you take to the knee, and he had a little bit of swelling that they just wanted to address and not really risk. I think it got a little stiff on him, and so they wanted to make sure that he was good. The first 2 games on that road trip were also back-to-back, so he wouldn't have played on one of those 2. And you know how inflammation kind of be affected by travel and flights and all that. So they really just didn't feel like it was worth going for the first 2 games. And once they were confident enough, they upgraded him to questionable. He got to the arena, warmed up, got the shoot around, warmed up, and determined that he was good to go. So I think he's feeling great. Like that 100% quote was just before he was able to return. But I think he's good now. He's in a good headspace too. I will say having warm weather when you're injured, when you're dealing with certain things, is much better than having cold weather, like Philly or Brooklyn. So, I think he's just still getting acclimated. There's still only, I believe, his 8th or 9th game that he played the other day with the team. So, still very early in his acclimation process here. But no, I think he's fine health wise. He's where he wants to be. The back isn't bothering him anymore. The knee really just was like a weird, strange hit he took to the knee from Trey Jamison III in that first Laker game. So other than that, I've heard nothing really that's of any concern.
So it was a couple weeks ago now. I can't remember the exact quote, but at some point, Coach Lue came out and said it's possible he plays back-to-back at some point. Is that accurate?
I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I think you're still talking about a guy who came off back surgery this past summer. And I just don't know, or last summer, 2024. But I just don't know if, there's a need to get him to play back-to-backs at this point. They only have a couple more left this season. I think one's on the road with Cleveland, Orlando. And they may have, I think it might be the Dallas back-to-back as well. Like other than that, I don't think they have any other back-to-backs besides that. I might be missing one. But ultimately, I just don't think you need to get him to a point where he plays the back-to-backs because, that play-in week will be separated by days off. The playoffs are obviously separated by days off. So I don't know. I haven't heard that. Nothing new regarding that as of now. But I also don't think they just need him to play back-to-backs at the moment. You just need him to be available for, the backup center spot, which he's been playing at a really high level over the last couple games. So,
talking with Tomer Azarly about Ben Simmons, did you at all get, I don't know, a sense of relief from him for being in this new situation where, I don't know if he realizes it or not, but Clipper Nation, they will rally behind you. They will give you a clean slate if you need one. They've embraced him so far. Did you pick up on his attitude just of being a Clipper and what this means right now in his career?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a level of appreciation and gratitude for a team willing to take a chance on him. Like, I think you still have to understand, I believe he's still only 27 or 28 years old. He's a young guy. He's still in his prime right now. And he's just been having to deal with a lot of injuries and a lot of rehabs. And I think for a guy like that, like you really just want to have a chance to see him at close to 100%. I think, when we saw him his first 4 years in Philly, outside of that foot issue he had the first year, he was fantastic. He was averaging I think he was around 16, 8-8 or 16, 8-7 per game with a couple steals as well. So like it's a guy who at 6'10" can bring the ball up for you, can defend 1 through 5 essentially, can move like a guard and has the size of a guard, a big man. So the potential is really there. I really just think he's been, in a lot of tough situations where he was kind of scapegoated in Philly. He really was scapegoated towards the end of his Philly tenure. And we saw how things turned out there. They haven't really worked out since he left. So, and then I think obviously the Brooklyn situation with KD and Kyrie, and then they decided to just kind of retool and go with the younger guys. Just tough situation to be in. I think he made the best of it as best as he could. But no, I think there's definitely an appreciation for being in an atmosphere here where he can compete for a championship. There's a high level of attention, not to say that there isn't before, but a high level of attention on medical and health and managing their loads and different minutes played and stuff like that. But I think there certainly is. I mean, I know for one he likes the weather a lot better. He's lived in LA before, but the weather's a lot better. But no, certainly a good amount of appreciation for a franchise that a very well liked coach. We know about the ownership, we know about the front office and the job they've done. So I think he's just ready to commit to helping a winning team win a championship. That's really it.
Would you say he has taken on a lot of undeserved criticism, that he has taken too much incoming and the scapegoating has been over the line when you know his whole story?
I mean, look, I think we live in an era where everything is going to be dissected, and for better or worse, things are going to be said. I think he certainly probably has his share of ownership to take for certain shortcomings on the court, but I think when you factor in everything he's had to deal with the immense amount of rehabs that he's had to deal with, and just trying to get back on the court and trying to stay healthy. Like if you get 75% of what Philly Ben Simmons was, like that's a monster for this team, especially on this contract. Like I think we've gotten, it's there's no in between anymore on guys. It feels like we either so far they're good or they're just complete trash, and there's no like in between on a lot of good players. You forget his age, you forget his overall skill level. And again, part of that is just because he hasn't been able to stay on the court. And I think, to no fault of his own, like it is what it is, like same with Kawhi. Like it's not really his fault, but you have to call it what it is. He's not able to stay on the court. So until the guy proves that he can stay on the court, you kind of just call it like it is. But the other side of that is he's very talented. He's worked very hard to get back onto the basketball court and help a team play and help a team win. He loves basketball. It's all he's ever known, is running his family. So, I think when you look at Ben, it's just about getting him time on the court, just getting him back on the court, seeing what he can do, and I think once he's healthy, once he's fully healthy, which he looks like he is now, he's a force to be reckoned with.
For those who haven't read the article, please do. A sit-down interview with Tomer Azarly and Ben Simmons. Could you give us some of I guess his approach towards the critics? And he has, as many guys have antennas, they hear what's being said about them, but he hasn't necessarily been someone that has fired back much. And he had some reasoning for that. Like I guess he just didn't want to encourage more of it, or how did you read that?
I think we've seen a very good example of that of late with anything that, the whole Stephen A. LeBron stuff. That was used as fuel for Stephen A's show over the last couple of weeks. I think we've seen it talked about multiple times. I've seen it talked about on multiple shows, not just his, but like other people's shows. And so I think commenting on something, especially if it's not true, kind of just only adds kind of fuel to the fire. Even if it's not true, it just keeps the discussions alive. And his mindset really has always been like I said in the article, like those people have not been in the gym with me. They've not been through the surgeries with me. They've not helped me through my rehab when I learned to walk again, and when I learned to, jump and do all these things on the basketball court again. Like none of those people were in the gym with him, and so I think from his perspective, it's like I have my small circle of people. I have my family, my friends, agent people that he works with, and they know the truth about me. Everyone who needs to know the truth about me knows the truth about me. And the way our kind of, it's not great, but the way the sports ecosystem works is just a hot take culture. It's a lot of hot takes and trying to get your take off, and you go viral with your little 30-second to 1 minute snippet. And I really just think Ben just doesn't want to add any fuel to the fire with that. He never wanted to. When I approached him about it, we talked for a few minutes off the record just about the whole thing, and he had that same mindset mentality off the record. Like, there's just no point. Like, I know what I'm about. Like, if you want to know what I'm about, come ask me and I can tell you what I'm about. But a lot of people talking and speaking on his name don't know and haven't spoken to him and don't really know the truth. And so, I think that's really where he comes from. Again, once I approached him, he was really open to talking about it, had no issues whatsoever. We spoke for a good probably 13 or 14 minutes on the record. So he was really great. Great conversation. Again, I just think that a lot of guys' names have been spoken on by a lot of the talking heads nowadays. And we saw it with LeBron. Like, as soon as that stuff happened, it went viral. Stephen A had this show and this quote, and now it's talked about for another week. So I just think from that perspective, Ben is like, look, I know what I need to do. I need to focus on my rehab. And everyone who knows what they need to know about me knows. And so he did say if there was something really bad said about him, he would come out and say something. But I don't think it's ever gotten to that point where I've seen him make a public comment. But he definitely sees everything on social media. I'll tell you that much.
It definitely seems like the misconception regarding Ben Simmons after reading the article is centered around the fact that, it's not that he doesn't have a passion or love for basketball. It sounds like he wants to be involved in the game even after he's done playing. That's all he knows. It's just the fact that he's had to do so much rehab that has kept him off the court. And some people have felt like, well, he doesn't love the game. And that seems to be, couldn't be further from the truth from what I read in the article.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he said he wants to go into either giving back and coaching as a to the youth, maybe some like rec center type things or anything like that. I think he's got a good career in basketball. He's played this since he was young. I think his dad played basketball. So like there's definitely a history there throughout his bloodline of him playing of his family playing basketball. So he's just a guy who really just wants to focus on the basketball side of things. I know he gets a bad rap for some of what he's, his shortcomings, and maybe I know people have talked about who he's dated before and stuff like that. Like all that can kind of contribute in some weird way, but ultimately he wants to get back to playing basketball, playing at a high level, contributing however he can, and helping the team win.
The article's called Clippers Ben Simmons Opens Up on Private Battle with Injuries and Constant Criticism. It's at Clutch Points, of course, penned by Tomer Azarly, who had the exclusive interview. Make sure to check it out. So, Tomer, what's your assessment of how he has fit in so far with this team on the court?
Oh, he's been fantastic. I think the Clippers using him as more of a 5 defensively and a point guard offensively has been very interesting. Some of those units haven't looked great to start games or early in the early stretches when he was first playing, but that's kind of to be expected. To start second quarters, we've usually seen him out there with Kawhi, maybe Nico out there. Nico can play more of the 4 at that point and stretch the floor out, while Ben can be the playmaker. It's been great. I think there's a lot to learn there. There's still this is in its infancy. Like second game fully healthy, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow outside of Jordan Miller, but he's not a real rotation player. So again, this is just so much. Not a lot of time left, but a lot of time still to grow for them. A lot of room for them to grow. I think that the sky's the limit. If they can figure out a way to make, and I still think Ben needs to be more aggressive looking for a shot. I think as far as just keeping the defense honest, it's important. Just because I feel like teams sag off him too much, they're looking for him to pass every time. But those dribble handoffs with Bogey and some of the other guys is just it's fantastic to watch. He's a real threat out there. And defensively, I think he's just a very high IQ guy who reads passing lanes, has a great read on different things. It's just it's just going to take time for everyone to kind of get on the same page together. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it slowly happen here.
Was Doc Rivers brought up at all in your interview with Ben Simmons?
No. no, we did not bring that up.
I had to ask.
No,
I just want to make
no,
sure, 'cause I remember where I was when that post-game interview went down.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not pointing any the finger at anyone in particular, but it felt like he was scapegoated coming out of Philly. They made him seem like he was the lone reason they lost that series against the Hawks or whatever it was, and I don't know, maybe he was a big part of that. But we've seen Philly hasn't had much success, despite the star power they've had there since. So, don't know how much you can point the finger at just one guy, but.
No, I'm with you. And moving away from Ben Simmons here, were you at Harden's Adidas release last night? And was Bogey there too?
Bogdan Bogdanovic was there. He made an appearance. He was there pretty much the entire time. It was a cool little event. He was around James the whole time. Bogey's an Adidas athlete, if people don't know. He was with Trae Young in Atlanta, who used to be with Adidas, and he moved on to a different brand. But yeah, Bogey came over here. He had James Harden's on. They hooked him up for the photo shoot and everything, and it was great. It was a great time. They had a nice little history of James Harden shoes with Adidas, the volume 1s all the way to the 9s that just came out a few months ago. And it was a blast.
So I was just playing some of the audio earlier today from practice where you were at, and B. Shaw spoke and Norman Powell spoke. And I heard Justin Russo ask about the 3 Euros, as they're calling themselves, or the 3 Amigos, the 3 Euros with Batum and with Zubats and with Bogey, and how well they're playing together. Just what have you seen from? It seems like Bogey is offering a lot locker room wise to this team, even just off the court.
Yeah, I think he's just a great fun personality. Like I to be honest with you, there's a lot of music going on today's practice, so the audio was kind of hard to hear in the moment. But no, it's definitely brought something different. Like I asked the other night about Zoo just seems to have a different connection with Bogey than he had anyone else who's been here. Like even as close as Terrence and Luke and some of the other guys when they were here, Bogey has a different connection. It's because they both speak Serbian and Croatian together. And yeah, it's just unlocked something else in him. He said there's a level of comfortability that I didn't really have before. The first day that Bogey was traded, his first day in LA, Zoo called him up and said, "Let's get coffee." They got coffee together. They chatted. They built that relationship and that bond. So yeah, I think Bogdanovic has been, he's been in the league long enough. He knows how it goes, and he's a very, very low maintenance type of guy. Like he doesn't need a certain amount of touches, or he doesn't need the ball in his hands the whole time. But if the ball is thrown in his hands, he can play make for you. He can shoot. He's a 3-level scorer. He's rebounded a much better clip than I've ever seen him rebound before getting here. I will say that too. And so, yeah, I mean, he said the other day, even when I was shooting like 1 for 12 in that, was it Chicago or something? He shot like 1 for 12 against someone. I forgot who it was. He said they were telling me, keep shooting. They were encouraging me, keep shooting the ball. We know what you can do. Keep going. And he said that meant a lot for him, and that really helped him feel comfortable. So I think it goes both ways. I think this was a great fit for Bogey, considering the point of his career. Atlanta not really contending right now for anything in the East. It was a great place for him to try and make a run to a title while also having veterans and guys from the same region. And just overall, Justin and I, a few of us are still waiting on that all FIBA lineup where we get Patty, Bogey, Nico, Ben, and Zoo together. We need that all FIBA 5 at some point. We got close for one of them. I think we saw 3 or 4 of them out at once. And Nico told me, he's like, we were so close. Yeah, we need to see the all FIBA lineup out there because that's some incredible international history right there.
Are we going to see Coach Lou back tomorrow, or is it already confirmed that he'll be out with Brian Shaw there at practice?
It was not confirmed. JVG, I believe, is away from the team right now, so I don't think he'll be there. The message we got was Ty Lue is going to see how he feels heading into tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning, and kind of see how he feels before deciding on the game. I mean, look, it looks like he's in a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. You could see over the last couple of days when he was here and then when he was coaching on the sidelines that he's just not right. I don't know how much returning to a high stress environment like this kind of helps, but you kind of just hope for the best, both for him and for Jeff Van Gundy. I know fans have been a little out of pocket with some of their comments over the last couple of days with Tilo handling his injuries. I haven't really liked seeing that in my mentions, but
Yeah, I was going to
hope for the
ask
best for both of them.
What's the level of communication during the game? Has Bishaw given any insight of just how they're conversing or how they're communicating with Coach Lou and how often?
Yeah, so Ty will communicate with the coaches in the back of the bench. That's usually Dante Jones, Jeremy Castleberry, those guys. I think one time we even saw Jeremy FaceTiming. Oh, the game after Kawhi's game winner, we saw Jeremy walking through the back FaceTiming Ty after the game winner. It's communicating with the back of the bench, and they're kind of just relaying stuff back and forth. And look, I mean, I think even though Ty's not coaching, I don't think people understand that even though Ty is not physically there, this is all under the same game plan and coaching tree. Like it's not like, oh, Ty's not here, so Brian gets to do whatever he wants today. That's not how it works. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I like his rotations better. Well, a lot of that's a little feel. A lot of that's under the same game plan, but it's under feel. And so the same goes for Jeff Van Gundy. Like the defense stays the same defensive principles. It doesn't change because he's not there. I've seen some people like, oh yeah, the defense is a lot better. Like that's not how it works. And so he communicates to the back of the bench. They go back and forth right now. I know it's killing Ty not to be there. But yeah, they're communicating, they're FaceTiming whenever they can. But in a high pressure game, it's tough to probably go back and forth too much. But I'm sure there is a level of communication at halftime, between quarters, stuff like that. So
in closing out here, how do you feel about the state of the Clippers currently after that victory against the Cavs and what we could see this weekend against Memphis, against OKC, and just how big these games are?
Finals? I don't know. Look, I mean, I think it was definitely a big win. I think coming into that game, it felt like personally, I felt like the Clippers could hang with the Cavs, but the Cavs, when they're fully healthy, had been a really, really dominant team. Ever since they got Max Strus back, especially, like they've just had shooting. We saw Strus shot the lights the heck out of the ball the other night. They've just been a force, and so I think I was very impressed with. First of all, Kawhi just getting to his spots, looking much more like himself, and two, Zoo just completely outworking and outplaying both combined Allen and Mobley. I think he had more points and rebounds combined than both of them by a wide margin. So. Good win. I think you just need to keep building on it. Like, I think some of the lazy habits, the not getting 50-50 balls, the watching rebounds kind of bounce around, the careless turnovers leading to transition points, like those things I think have been the keys for the Clippers. If they're able to cut down on some of the turnovers, or if you're going to turn the ball over, at least make it a dead ball turnover so you can get back on defense. Kawhi mentioned that transition defense is still an area they need to work on. I think there's a good chance they can, again, like I said multiple times here, I don't think anyone wants to see them in a first round matchup if they're fully healthy. Record wise, it's a little something else, but when they're clicking, when they're firing on all cylinders and healthy, like I don't think anyone wants to see that team fully healthy. They could scare some teams. So we'll kind of see how it goes, but it's definitely a big confidence booster. I know they said it wasn't a statement to win or anything like that, but it sure as hell felt like one.
Is Zubac's a top 5 center in your mind?
What was it that had him 26 or something? Hoops hype. At this point,
it was like hoops hype had him there, I think.
I mean, top 5 center this season, yeah, probably. I mean, who would you have ahead of him? I mean, maybe Cat. Yeah, Cat, Jokic. Sabonis. Even though he's kind of Sabonis. No, I was gonna say Sabonis is kind of part of a system where they go through him. When they go through Zoo, I mean, he's capable of putting up numbers, and they're capable of, doing a lot of things. And he's a really strong defensive presence. So I don't know about the top 5 things. He probably is, but that's not too important to me. He's great. They just need to continue playing through him. I'm at a point in the season where if the Clippers don't play through him, I get concerned. Like, he has been that great. You throw the ball down to him. If you get doubled, pass it out, find the open guy. If not, go to that trusty hook shot, whatever it is, and go from there. But he's been phenomenal this year. He's been absolutely amazing.
He is Tomer Azarly. He's amazing. From Clutch Points, check out his article. PC did sit down with Ben Simmons. Follow him at Tomer Azarly, Tomerazarly. Tomer, thanks for doing this once again here on Clipper Stock, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks for allowing me to keep it PG this time. And I saw some people mention the Dragon Ball Z shirt. Hell yeah. Shout out Dragon Ball Z. That's my favorite.
I mean, if you want to take your shirt off and wave it above your head real quick, just so we can keep the theme going.
Check that box off. We'll save that for next time. We can't give it to everyone right now.
All right. Not Magic Mike Tomer. We'll deal. Thank you, Tomer. Before we get out of here, guys, I do want to remind you, Clipper Stock is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to play fantasy sports and is available in over 30 states. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats or your least favorite player stats. And you can win up to, check this, 100 times your money. Make picks, win money. And I got the free promo code for you. This will give new users a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo code is LAC, and you can find it and the referral link in the description down below in this very Clipper Stock episode. Underdog Fantasy, make picks, win money. Clippers taking on the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow night. Tip-off at 7:30. We'll have your pregame show starting at 6:30. Until then, I'm Adam Osland. This has been another edition of Clippers Talk. What day was this? 167.